I messed around with my recording settings a little bit, and that's why this video is up a little bit later than what I would have liked to have done it, but let me know in the comments section, does it look different? Does it look better? Just let me know. Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and if you're wondering why I have Nylander written on my forehead, well, it's because of this. And I talked about this in a previous video, but sometimes you just get a lot of crazy Leaf ideas stuck in your head, and you just gotta let them out. That's what this video is gonna be. And the latest California road trip has gotten people right back to where they were with this Maple Leafs team when David Ayres beat them. Mitch Marner's not worth his contract. They need to strip the C off of Tavares. Austin Matthews is too soft. William Nylander is bad. Kyle Dubas needs to be fired. Everything was a mistake. And obviously, there's a lot to unpack there, and we're going to talk about it all in this video today. And Passed Around Hockey Twitter yesterday, and specifically Leafs Twitter, was asking the question, is this hockey market in Toronto toxic for the players to play in? Are there more negatives than positives to playing in Toronto, and could that be affecting the players? Are the fans at fault here? And I get where that line of thinking was coming from, okay? I was at the game when fans actively booed Jake Gardiner last season, and that's something that really stuck with him after leaving in the offseason. He admitted it in an article with The Athletic. I believe it was with Jonas Siegel. But I get it. I understand why the fans booed. And I was a guy that loved Jake Gardiner. Absolutely loved him. Defended him until I was blue in the face, which is ironic because my face is red most of the time. And it was really taxing. It was really taxing to be a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs and be a fan of Jake Gardiner because you constantly felt like you needed to defend the guy on a nightly basis. And obviously, I'm not talking about the death threats that he received on his Instagram and stuff like that. That's shameful. You should be straight up ashamed of yourself if you were someone that participated in something like that. It's just a hockey game. But now that Jake Gardiner is gone, yeah, I'm sad that he's gone because I was a fan of his, but I'm also happy that I don't have to defend that player anymore. And it was getting to that point with William Nylander last year, and thank God William Nylander is having the season that he's having. He's arguably been the second or third best player on this team, but if you take a step back and you look at the last 3 years for the Maple Leafs, it's kind of easy to understand why fans are frustrated. The 2016-17 season was the most fun that I've ever had watching hockey because it was just a bunch of kids that were constantly overcoming expectations and setting records night in and night out. And then after that season, expectations kind of evolved and those players were expected to do more and the results didn't come. It's a results-oriented business. And then they really put the screws to the organization when it came to their contracts, and they weren't the same cute little cuddly players with infectious smiles. And again, there hasn't been any results, but if you look at the context of what's happened this year especially, and in the last 18 months, everything that could have gone wrong for the Toronto Maple Leafs has gone wrong. And yet somehow they're still sitting in a playoff spot right now. And if you're one of those people out there that's going to criticize the fans for booing the players or wanting more out of these players, there's obviously an extent that you can go to, okay? Saying Mitch Marner is an overpaid bum is a little bit of an overreaction. Saying that they should strip John Tavares of the C is a little bit of an overreaction. Saying that Austin Matthews is soft, well, you probably haven't watched the games this season. Saying that William Nylander is bad is just lazy and so last year. But don't for a second try to tell me that this fan base is toxic for booing players that have gotten every single thing that they've wanted in this market and given us nothing back. I talked about it in a video a couple of weeks ago. I invest just like a lot of you. If you're a casual fan, everyone invests a different amount into this team. And when you invest something, you want to see a little bit of a return on your investment. We have gotten nothing back from this team. So don't try to tell me that I can't go on social media and criticize these players or boo them if I'm at the game. Obviously, conduct yourself accordingly, right? You can't go to someone's Instagram and be sending death threats, okay? You can't be go out there and saying outlandish things about people's personalities and characters. You don't know them personally. Don't be the asshat that embarrasses yourself like that. Nobody likes to lose. It's that simple. And this tweet was at the center of it yesterday. And if you're upset by it, I don't really fully understand it, okay? If that's what Mitch Marner needs to do to be successful, go ahead and do it. If this is what the team needs to do to go out there and score goals and win games, by all means do it. If they need to send out 100 tweets a day to win hockey games, go out there and do it. You do you, man. Hockey players are really superstitious, and if you need to crack 2 eggs and squeeze 2 lemons and do a funny dance or whatever before you go out there on the ice to win the game, go ahead and do it, okay? We've all seen the movie Major League where the guy sacrifices the chicken to hit the curveball before every game. If you need to do that, by all means, do it. And by the way, someone in that locker room needs to tell Mitch Marner to stop talking to a camera. This is a game, but it's also a business. And obviously, to call the Toronto hockey market toxic, you'd have to have something to compare it to, right? Because everything is relative, right? You wouldn't know how to describe night if there wasn't day, and vice versa. So tell me, what sports market out there is not toxic when their team is losing? What team out there likes to lose? What fan base can support a team consistently that likes to lose? What fan base can support a team that gives them nothing back on their investment? Please tell me out there, because the Boston Bruins have seemed to have our number for the last several years, and Boston is one of the most toxic sports markets in the entire universe. And I know that there's a lot of us, right? There's a lot of Leaf fans, and there's bad apples in every bunch, and I'm not going to let a couple of bad apples ruin my experience as a fan. But I'm also not going to cater to the other side of the spectrum and say that I can't boo this team, because objectively, they've sucked lately. But I've also posed the question that maybe we're looking at the Maple Leafs' problems with blue-colored glasses, because maybe these are problems that we see with other hockey teams and stuff like that they're not just specific to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, the Pittsburgh Penguins, ever since the trade deadline, have kind of sucked. The New York Islanders, ever since the trade deadline, have kind of sucked. And you see those fan bases melting down and stuff like that. But maybe the NHL is just a league where anyone can beat anyone on any given night. I mean, the New Jersey Devils did just beat the St. Louis Blues with Corey Schneider in net, and Corey Schneider's a guy that didn't win for like an entire calendar year or something like that. And I know I already spoke on investing in this team, and wanting a return on your investment and expecting a return on your investment are two different things. And I understand for those of us that stayed up and watched those games this past week, yeah, I understand why you're disappointed. But this team doesn't owe us anything, right? You're willingly choosing to invest in this team, and that's the difference. So there are ways to express your displeasure with this team other than being a total ass and embarrassing yourself. But I also don't think that this hockey market is toxic. I think this hockey market just really wants to win, and soon, because we've gone through a lot as a fan base. And if you just take a step back and you understand that the last 2.5 or 3 years or so have been kind of frustrating, and this is all kind of new to us, right? The Leafs have sucked for a very, very long time, and now that there's expectations on them, I think everyone's just a little bit impatient. So if everyone can just kind of please bear with the team for a little bit longer, they might just sort things out. Because, like I said earlier in the video, everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong, and they're still in a playoff spot. And I mean, I'll link the video on top of the screen, but when I said that Kyle Dubas did the right thing by not acquiring players at the trade deadline, sending the message that this is on the players to fix, this is your mess to clean up, and I'm not going to help you do it, this is what that looks like. You wanted the team to face adversity, this is it. They're either going to sink or swim, and if they sink, we'll talk about it when they do. And I've been trying to speak things into existence with this team all season long, because the idea is that if you say something enough times, like the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to beat both Tampa Bay and Boston in the playoffs, then eventually it instills that bit of confidence in you, and you never know. It's all about trying to create a positive environment, right? So make sure to like the video if you did like it, and subscribe for more, because more is always on the way. And guys, Maple Leafs have 13 more games to go this season before they start kicking some real ass.